All right. It's Clint from the Doorway 2, hanging out with Chris and Brandon of Mother of Graves.
What's up?
Hey, man. Very cool to finally get to do this. Glad that we could finally make this happen. So I guess the first question I'm going to ask, and I just want to know what your interpretation is, because being a fellow musician that creates Doom music,
Yeah.
I'd love to know what your definition of Doom actually is.
Chris? Well, we can both chime in on this, but you can go.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know, it's all about atmosphere to me. I mean, obviously the Doom genre covers many different, sounding styles and subgenres and whatever. But to me, Doom is just the atmosphere specifically. And what we play, I would say, the sorrowful atmosphere. We're not doing any of the stoner Doom style or anything like that. But
no, thank fuck, we're not doing that. Sorry, no offense.
But yeah, I mean that's what it's all about to me. Is just that atmosphere and emotion, honestly.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's a lot of emotion, a lot of just brooding, crushing melody and shit like that. Like, I don't know, I'm a huge fan of like Swedish and Finnish death metal that has that really, like, I'm listening to Sentence right now, and like that's that early shit that they did, man. It was just so never stopped being evil. You know what I mean? I like that a lot about Doom. Yeah, I guess I would lean more towards like the death realm of Doom than anything, instead of like, I don't know. I also like shit like Saint Vitus too. You know what I mean? So it kind of it's a big world of that shit. So
I'm totally. I lean much more toward the death Doom stuff too. And that's Saint Vitus is like Doom rock to me. It's great, but it's Doom rock. It's a totally different. It's a totally different world. I'm gonna bounce off the Finnish death metal thing, because that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about, because that was the biggest death metal influence I hear in your music. So I don't know if you guys like a band called Demigod at all, but
the Slumber of Soul and Eyes, I believe. Such a killer record.
So you guys remind me very much of that side of the Finnish death metal, where it's slower, more plotting, more sinister sounding. So I didn't know if that was definitely a direction you guys were heading or leaning into, because that's one of the bands that I kind of would say strongly made me like it. So
I wouldn't say that it's like necessarily heading in like that specific direction, but we do take influence from a lot of that. So
Chris,
you got anything for that, or?
I've never heard that band that you're talking about, to be honest.
Nope.
You should know them.
I'll check it out, man.
Yeah, I think you'd really like it. The guitar tones are very similar to a lot of stuff that you guys do. So it's not so much down-tuned, it's just very heavy. So like that's
nice.
Kind of so I'm going to reference a couple of bands that really kind of I feel like I've heard when I'm listening to this EP, and you can tell me I'm fucking insane. That's fine. I told it before.
Go for it.
Yeah. But so I hear a lot of old Tiamat in what you do. Okay. I also hear an absolute ton of October Tides in what you do. All right. And then the last thing is, and I know this is not the period that you probably think, but that middle period Paradise Lost, not early, not new.
I can agree with that. The more they kind of got into that like more gothic melody type stuff, instead of like that early, it was like pure down-tuned death at the beginning. You know what I mean? No. When they started to incorporate more like emotion and just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the
What's
kind
your favorite Paradise Lost album?
My favorite. Oh man. See, I like the early stuff just because I'm a total dead, like gothic and stuff like that is really kind of my stuff. But like I love when they add that Metallica flavor into their music, and it kind of mixes that gothic with metal with thrash elements. So I even think Host is a really cool record because they add really interesting electronic elements into it. So like I said, but I mean, I'm gonna go with the old gothic.
We're in Paradise Lost shit right now.
I saw it. And I know you guys get compared to Catatonia a lot, and this is something I wanted to talk about. Like, I don't hear it. Okay, and here's why I don't hear it at all.
I blatantly ripped off Catatonia so many times.
I feel like it's more in like just the background of the riffs a little bit. You know what I mean? You can hear where like their influences were derived from. You know. So
yeah, I mean, Catatonia will even say themselves that like that Paradise Lost like gothic album, that was one of the huge like influences on their sound.
I remember, before I joined, and you guys had what was it, Afraid, when you had that up online, and I remember a comment that was like, "Oh, Brave Murder Worship," and I'm like, I really don't hear it. Like I heard more like when I first heard that, I thought of like. I think I even commented this too. I'm like, it reminds me of fucking like Agalloch with death metal vocals, and I love that shit.
Nice.
Well, I will admit to worshiping Brave Murder Day, but hey,
yeah,
and yeah, dude, that early Tiamat stuff like Clouds is like my favorite. I love that. Oh my god,
it's so good. Hear so much more is that Cloud, because you have that really heavy, dense atmospheric element going on. So
yeah, when I started like writing the original riffs for this, I mean, what was like in heavy rotation was definitely Tiamat, Clouds, and the Catatonia Sounds of Decay EP were like just like nonstop over and over, like playing. And of course, like the earlier October Tide stuff for sure too is something I listened to. But I mean, all that Paradise Lost and all the early stuff, and of course like Edge of Sanity and all those just like melodic riffs, man.
Well, yeah, you can hear the Swano influences. I totally get that. That's
I mean,
that's there.
Doesn't that? I mean, really?
I know. No, you could definitely hear that. So I kind of want to talk about why an EP? Why just 4 songs? Like, I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna make you guys laugh, but like, I get to finish the record and I'm pissed off that I got to turn it on and play it again. Like, I hate short doom.
I think that's been our biggest like there haven't been any complaints that I've heard. It's been more so like, oh, the only reason I'm not giving this blah blah out of blah blah is because it's a fucking EP and it's not a full length. And I get that, but like, I think Chris, you and I even talked about this before when we were recording. It was like, it's like, do we want to just go all out immediately with like a full length, or do we want to give a little bit of a? I mean, we weren't like founded on anything yet. You know what I mean? There was no like solid impression at the time, and I feel like an EP is a really good way to like just kick the door in, you know what I mean? And then like let people hear that and then go, I want more of this, and then that also helps build more hype behind the band too. So without people burning out too quickly, you know what I mean?
You've done just that, because I can't keep listening to it. Like I listened to it 3 or 4 times. Like, yeah, literally, because like I'm like, wait, that was the last song? Shit. Like that's it's like, but no, very cool. Chris, any thoughts on it as well too, or?
No, yeah, Brandon nailed it. We just wanted to put out something like fairly quickly and not have to like, sit around writing, 4 more songs at the time and just get an initial impression out there. So we could start work. I mean, we're already working on the next one. So that was kind of the goal, is get something out there to buy.
We just finished one yesterday. So.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Awesome. So I want to talk about my favorite song first of all. And I kind of want to see what was the way you arranged it, created it. So Nameless Burial is my absolute favorite track on the record.
I like that one a lot too. So.
All right, and the reason why is it mixes all the elements of your band, as far as I've heard so far, in that song. Like, I feel like every little element is there. So I kind of wanted you to talk a little bit about that song, how you created it. What did you want it to be? Did it turn out the way you wanted it?
Yeah, I'll talk first about like musically and let Brandon talk about like the lyrics or whatever. But so have you seen the movie Midsummer before?
It's such a good movie.
I had been on a Midsummer kick, along like a while back, years ago. and that movie has just this vibe that is like creepy, but like the movie's never in the dark. It's always very sunny, like it's a beautiful scene.
It's kind of night and day with Hereditary too. So
exactly,
like they're both equally terrifying, but it's in like two different ends of the spectrum. So
yeah. So I mean, like in the music in that movie, the score is just insane. It's just so creepy and eerie. So the song, the working title for Nameless Burial is actually called Eerie. And I like the intro riff, which is the basis for like the main riff in the song, I suppose, or the chord progression at least, was directly influenced just by where my head was at after watching Midsummer. I was just playing some like creepy sounding things on the acoustic guitar, and I just sent those few little notes over to Ben, our other guitarist and who recorded everything, and we just kind of went off from there in a vibe that it was eerie, it was a little bit heavy, slow, and we wanted to take it somewhere where the middle sections kind of start getting different look and melodic, where that one guitar kind of slides in, and then it starts getting like really pretty and beautiful, but then really fucking depressing melody. Like, so I mean, that's kind of the vibe we were going for. Like, just the way that movie felt to me, it was the way that I wanted that music to feel. Eerie, creepy, beautiful, but also horrifying. So I don't know. I think I'm pretty happy with that one, how it came out. And then Brandon came in and took it to a whole nother level.
I mean, it was already there to begin with, so just add that little icing on the cake. So
okay, cool. No, that's awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about the album cover as well too. And this is probably going to be the weirdest way that I praise a band ever. But if I look at this album cover and I listen to the album, I don't see this album cover. Like, it is not what I would say is a like Death Doom or like a gothic kind of. It's very sci-fi and creepy and like. But if you listen to the album and listen to the lyrics and feel what's going on, you can see why the album cover is what it is. All right. Yeah. And I kind of wanted to ask you, why this kind of album cover for a band like Mother of Graves?
Well, okay, so the album cover, our good buddy Davey, who's local here to Indy and the metal scene around here, he's a phenomenal artist. He does everything hand, you know what I mean, and slight digital touches at the end, but it's all from scratch, you know what I mean. So, and I've trusted this dude's work for a long time because he's done a lot of work for my other bands, and I trust his vision, you know what I mean, and I let him kind of have like free reign on it. I sent him kind of like a small like synopsis of like the lyrical content and kind of like, I guess, a story that I had in mind for it. It's not a concept EP, but it's kind of like it was built around a general theme, you know what I mean? And I was just like, here you go, fucking do like, follow your heart pretty much at that point. And he shot me back with a little like rough image of what he had, and dude, it blew my mind. I mean, there were some things we like tweaked at the time. Like, we went back and forth for like weeks and weeks, just going like, oh, maybe we could do a little bit less of that and a little more of that. But it turned out incredible. And honestly, I feel like that is a really good visual for kind of like what I had in mind, really, because I didn't give him anything of my own. Like, he came back with like, this is what the music made me feel off of what like I read out of your lyrics, and then like put into like art form, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and it was like his words exactly were like, it was kind of a play on purgatory and being frozen in like an ascension between like life and death, you know what I mean? So, and then you got the big sky in the background representing death, which is cool. And then the guy, have you ever seen like Fire in the Sky, the old 90s alien movie? Yeah. Kind of like that, where dude just getting like levitated by, a fucking light. Just pretty eerie and cool. I feel like it fit pretty well. It wasn't supposed to be sci-fi by any means, but No,
I think you nailed it, man. I love it.
Yeah. I was happy with it, really. So.
Yeah, the more you listen to it, the more you can kind of see the element of the record. So that's it's kind of it's one of those things that's cool. Like, you got to really dig into it. You can't be a temporary listener and kind of like this kind of music. So on that note, I kind of want to talk about, I think it's really fucking cool that you guys did a cassette version. And I just really, really like that. If you can't do a vinyl version because it's so goddamn expensive today, and like, like
we're gonna wait for the full length for that. So
yeah, and I understand that, $1,700 to press out a couple hundred records, it's not worth it for a small release.
Vinyl costs are through the roof, man. So
yeah, but it's really cool that you kind of still did kind of a really kind of underground, like cool thing that like the tape guys out there, like I'm an old, I'm 48 years old. I'm an old dude. Like I did tape trading. Like I literally did tape trading to Scandinavia, Germany, and like this is what it reminds me of. It reminds me of those days where hey, I got a limited copy of 15. Like that's so awesome.
Tapes are cool, man. I feel like they're definitely still as prominent as they were before. If not, they're like coming back. You know what I mean?
So what's different from the cassette version to the CD version? Like, is there anything special that somebody would get?
No, not particular. I mean, the cassette was super cool too because they, I think it was Davey that had this initial idea, the guy that did the artwork because he also did our layout for like the covers and like the pamphlets and the CD artwork and everything. And he wanted to do this. I think it was him, or was it Sean that had the idea for the gold? I don't remember, but the tape is gold and it's a super sweet color that just looks awesome when you open it up,
Are those hand numbered? I don't even know. I think the initial batch was hand numbered.
One of the two,
yeah. Awesome.
I don't know. They're about the same, other than the general like aesthetic of them. So
yeah, no, I like the gold tape layout. That was cool as hell.
Man.
So if somebody was to listen to this EP and they've never heard your band before, and you could give them the pitch right before they listen to it, what would you tell them?
Oh man, I'm terrible with this shit. You got anything?
Man, like I gotta sell it to them. Like I don't know.
Just
I mean, it's an emotional, melodic, death metal, doom metal mashup. And if you like that sort of shit, then hopefully you like this, man. I don't know. Me personally, at least, like this album, like has a lot of, has a lot of me inside of it. It was very important to me writing this album, and I mean, I don't know. I feel weird selling art, so I don't know.
I feel like too with the album, like it has a lot of different blended elements into it that I feel like it can almost like satisfy all these different ends of metal. You know what I mean? Like people that are strictly into doom will be into it. People that are into death metal will be into it. And I kind of wanted to keep like vocally, I definitely wanted it to feel more, death metal. You know what I mean? That's kind of why, like, I don't know. It's good to have all these different elements in the band that it makes it easier to sell to like a general audience. You know what I mean?
So I definitely still call us a death metal band. Honestly, I'd call us a death metal band before I call us a doom metal band. We just play slower.
Any day, completely.
So that's funny because that's what I was going to say is the first time I listened to the record, I thought it was just a really slow death metal record. Like that's kind of what that's kind of what, in essence, what it was. So you definitely would align yourselves more with the death metal aesthetic than doom metal, or
that's all of our backgrounds. We're all played in death metal bands for years and years and years, and I mean, now, sure, we're playing like, sometimes we're playing some major chords, we're playing, we're not, tremolo picking, we're not double bass through the whole thing or anything like that. But I mean, there's some aggression there. There's obviously Brandon's like vocals and everything. And just the underlying melody and music might not be what you consider your typical, brutal death metal, but
sure.
I got to be a lot more emotional, I guess, with vocals and lyrics in this band because I've been so accustomed to writing, blood and gore horror stories for death metal, and getting this, like when I first heard this music, I don't know, the words just started coming out really for this kind of stuff because you want it to fit the theme, you know what I mean, and fit the general vibe of it. So I'm not going to sit here and write about like religious horror or something like that, like some Exorcist shit with music as pretty and like emotionally crushing as this, So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, very cool. So your record label and you are both in the same city is from basically what I'm seeing.
Good old Sean, man. Yeah, he's been a local for a while, and we've we've all known him for a little bit just because of his work with Decibel, and he's done some work for the band I drum for, Obscene. So
nice. So my question was going to be is, what did you expect from a brand new label? Like what were you looking for out of somebody that was kind of brand spanking new versus trying to find a more established company?
I wasn't looking for anything other than somebody that put it out. I mean, we were just going to put this thing out as like a demo. Like we had absolutely no expectations. But Sean, he's got in contact and he gave us this pitch that was, man, I was just right there with him. I loved every single thing that he said to us about, you know, about his label, about his like concept, about how he wanted to run his business, and like it sounded perfect. So you're just like immediately like, yeah, man, we don't even need to like shop this thing. Who cares? Let's just go with Sean.
No, he has a lot of drive, and you know, he cares, which is like the biggest thing. Like I could give a shit how big your label is. You know, if you make it obvious that you're going to care about the people that you book in, you know what I mean? Then that's going to take the reign over anything.
Yeah. I've got a message from him right now. Like, so, I mean, he's so he communicates all the time, you know.
Yeah, we have a little group chat.
So. Nice.
It's just nice to know that he cares.
It seems like there's a lot of love and care in this. Just speaking with him, asking him, hey, how do I get in touch with you to be able to talk to you about this record? And he was like, oh yeah, no problem. Let me get you in touch. Like that's nice. That
he's very quick to reply to that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's cool. So all right. So some of the tough questions now.
Go for it.
All right. Mother of Graves. What does it mean? Why is it the band name? And how do you think it fits into your sound?
That would be you, Chris. You came up with it.
Yeah. So Mother of Graves. It comes from a mythological Latvian, you know, person. You know, like the guardian of the cemeteries. The person who's looking after the dead. And, you know, my mom's from Latvia, so I was just kind of just fishing around for.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. No, my mom moved here when she was a little kid, so fleeing the horrible shit that was going on over there. Yeah, so I mean, I was just looking for a cool name, you know, like whatever. We got a band that needs a name, and I came across that. And I was like, you know what? It's pretty cool because I mean, this band was formed around. Like the idea came up after like one of my best friends ever passed away. And so like the whole concept of, you know, death and, you know, that sort of thing was always there. And I was like, oh, you know, my mom's Latvian. This is kind of cool. It sounded cool to me. Originally we were going to use the Latvian words, but I didn't want to have to like explain how to pronounce it and all that kind of shit. So, so yeah, I mean, that's it. And I don't know, it just kind of stuck, and I think it works out pretty well.
Cool. Awesome. So I don't know how much interaction you had with Swano for mastering the record, but what kind of feedback did you get initially when he listened to it?
Dude, he was very quick to write back. Like from what I heard from Sean initially, like before any of us ever spoke to him, he was immediately interested from like the one demo that we had online that was not mixed, mastered. It just had like my junky home recording vocals over it, you know, and he was pretty interested in hearing more. And then we sent him the full, I think the full mixing of the album. You know, it was pretty much done deal at that point. But he is a phenomenal dude as far as, you know, communication. Like I would sit there and email him, and he would write back in 10 minutes. You know, so yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have that connection with him. So.
Super positive, super great that he was, he dug the songs. He loved Brandon's vocals. Yeah, it was fantastic. He knocked the work out real fast. I'm too like that. Yeah. He posted the other day a picture of him wearing the shirt. I'm like, man, like you're a legend in my mind. I know you're just a dude, and you know, probably just super chill, but still, mad respect. It's awesome.
Yeah, I saw that picture and I was like, damn, it's cool as hell, man.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
He's written some of my very, very favorite like death metal like songs like ever. So it's like it's just whoa.
Yeah,
fucking cool.
That's an understatement, man.
We understand. Trust me, I do. Spectral Sorrows record may be one of the greatest things that was ever made by mankind.
I agree, man. I love that record, and Purgatory Afterglow. I feel like that melody that comes out of those is like they definitely treaded more into that gothic territory, which is awesome. too. And I love the earlier shit, like, you know, Nothing But Death Remains, Unorthodox. Unorthodox is by far my favorite death metal album of all time.
Nice.
I swear to God.
That album hasn't left my CD player in my living room in like 3 years. It's been like in there like the entire time. And then we have Twilight off of Purgatory Afterglow is like top 3 like metal songs in general for me, like of all time. I love that song so much.
Very cool. Yeah, no, we're all in the same mindset there. That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
I kind of wanted to ask you, as far as where do you see the new material heading? Like, is it different? Is it just a growth of what it is? Like, talk to me a little bit about the new material, because you said you're already working on it. So
I don't know, like I mean, some of it's a continuation, because some of it's like we've had some of the same material like in the first batch of songs. It just wasn't fully hashed out when we recorded the initial batch of songs. But like the one that we just finished up yesterday, that Brandon threw some scratch vocals down on, that song has been around, you know, since probably 2017, like in my voice memos, like on my phone, where I started coming up with the riffs. But I mean, it's been there. It just wasn't one that we chose to put on the EP at the time.
I think I was the one that pointed that out to you. I was like, man, that acoustic riff that you have like in the Google Drive, I'm like, you need to do something with that. And then here we are.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we've started demoing out some of the stuff, and some of it's definitely, you know, in the same vibe. Some of it's a little bit different. It's definitely still melodic. There's some sick, heavy riffs happening. I don't know. We'll see how it works out. We've got a number of songs in the works. So
I wouldn't say there's even like a set direction either. I mean, all of us kind of write guitar riffs and just send them back and forth, you know, and then we're like, hey, you like that? Cool. Let's build on it. You know, if you don't like it, scrap it, throw it away or whatever. But we all have a pretty similar mindset on, you know, melodies and all that stuff. So
it's still going to be melodic. It's still going to be death metal. It's, you know.
Yes, sir.
Very cool.
We'll see where it goes.
Awesome. So does the band write as a group, or is it more independently? Because listening to you guys, it seems like you all bring pieces in. Do you ever collectively like write a song together, or is it more of just, this is my piece, this is this piece, I'm gonna add this layer, and then it becomes what it is?
It's kind of everybody, really. I mean, considering, you know, the world, we're not all rehearsing. We haven't even rehearsed at all, like as a whole. You know what I mean? So it's always been more of a sending stuff back and forth type deal. And we'll mesh our riffs together. Like, I'll write something, and then Chris will go, hey man, I got a riff for that too. And then we'll combine them together and see if they work. And if they don't, fuck it, we'll try it again, you know. So it's been kind of like that, really.
Nice. Awesome. So if you could make a true video on any one of these songs, and like,
ooh, that's a good question.
Which song would it be, and like, what would you want the presentation to look like?
Man, I feel like The Urn would make an awesome. I mean, not just because it's like the one we released as a single, but I feel like it's the hookiest. You know what I mean? Between that or the title track, I feel like The Urn has that drive that would make for really good like visual video. You know. Mm-hmm. So that's me.
I'd love to do a video someday. But yeah, I agree. I think The Urn would be perfect for that. I actually have a friend, my buddy Pete, texted me saying that he had a dream that he made a video for that song the other night. So maybe we'll hit him up and
we need to
do that one of these days.
Very cool. Awesome. So if you guys could cover any song by any band, what would it be? Why?
We've talked about
Twilight. Yeah.
We'll probably end up doing that one of these days.
I mean, Dan already said I sound like him in his like early days, so I'll take that and roll with it, you know.
Nice.
And plus, it's a badass song, and I feel like it would fit us really well, actually. So
yeah, that guitar lead line, man, I can just play that all day long. I love it.
Very cool. So that's pretty easy. You both agreed. Normally that never happens.
Well, we talk about this all the time. We're like, when are we going to cover Twilight? So
very cool.
I think we all have a common love for that album. So
awesome. So if there was 3 bands you would say, each one of you, that have influenced you the most. I know we've talked a little bit about this, but like, what 3 bands have over, and they can be from any time, I don't care, any style, it doesn't matter.
I was gonna say, dude, because I man, my taste is all over the place. Like, man, I don't know. Chris, you go first. I'm gonna think.
Oh Jesus. I don't know. Just trying to think about like what I listen to the most. I mean, I'll go back like young wise. I mean, like the Doors were like a stupid influence on me when I was a kid. I still love them. Yeah, you can think Jim Morrison's a piece of shit, like Poser Poet or whatever. I don't care. But I mean, I'm not going to totally disagree. But that band, my sister turned me on to them, and like they really got me into music in general. So like in like the keyboards and everything, and like the cool little guitar parts. But oh man, that's hard. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Edge of Sanity is probably up there, was like one, but top three, I can't really do that. I mean, damn Slayer, I don't know, Cannibal Corpse, I don't know.
I think everybody's like started around Slayer sometimes, for more extreme music, and then it's all just fucking.
I used to listen to a lot of hardcore and punk when I was younger too. Like I don't know, it's too hard.
So let's do it like this then. So each one of you give me one band that would shock me that you listen to. Just one.
Oh man, I don't know if anything would shock you really. I mean, it's.
Looking at my playlist right now, see if I find. Oh, I forgot about Merciful Fate, dude. I think I'm wearing a Merciful Fate hat, dude. Like anything King Diamond does is like insanely like influential to me. It might not come out like in what I play, but big influence. Here's something that'll shock you. Hold on.
Shit, that's a good question. I never really thought about that before. I don't know anything that I listen to that would kind of be a
50 Cent album.
All right.
I'm huge into old hip hop, but like fucking old Scarface and shit like that. I love that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, man.
No, that's cool. I was just I didn't know if there was anything, but the 50 Cent was a good. Was it ready for that? That's awesome.
It's a good album, man. The songs
do a motherfucking PIMP.
Yeah, dude, exactly. The songs are really good. It's a catchy album.
Oh, very cool, very cool.
I used to listen to the Spice Girls when
there are things I listen to that
half ironically, but whatever.
I have an 18-year-old niece, and she has taken me to a lot of shows that I will woefully say, you know what, it was much better than I thought it was. So that's just the way it is, man. So I guess what I kind of want to ask both of you is, being that the full band isn't here, as far as, has there been any shocking reviews or any shocking phrases that you've gotten from reviewers or just fans that like took you by surprise, that you never expected that you would get that kind of feedback for this EP?
Honestly, no. I mean, it's all been mostly positive, so nothing that really like shocked, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm shocked in general that like so many people have like heard it and wanted to review it or whatever.
That's a good answer, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really think about that kind of stuff when you're making it. It's just like, we all like this. This stuff is really cool, but then it comes out and it gets this good of a reception, and you're just like, whoa, like we did something good here, So it's kind of nice to see that.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, and this is just going to be diatribing for a minute because I kind of want to talk about this, but you give me that Peaceville meets avant-garde records kind of vibe, which is fucking missing today. Like, there isn't really good melodic death doom going on. There's old bands that are still doing it, but there's not a lot of new stuff coming. So,
and even if like the ones that are still doing it, some of them get a little watered down and kind of change their style, but we wanted to really keep it true to that age of it, you know what I mean? And not let it like get old, But if anything, like kind of I wouldn't say reinvent it, but like give it some more flair again. So
yeah, I think you just kind of enhanced what it already was.
Yeah.
And you kind of gave it a 21st century taste is kind of what it is. And that's really like what made me happy. Like, it made me feel like, so my first band was a doom death band, and like we had like 14-minute long songs. And when we got signed to the record label, they literally were like, what do you mean there's 4 songs on the record and one of them's 31 minutes? Like, literally, our label out of Boston, which was called Dark Symphonies at the time, literally was like, what do you mean you have a fucking 31-minute long song? I said, yes, that's what it is.
Hey, man, Sueno wrote like a 45-minute track and made an album out of it. So,
but you guys have kind of condensed all that into 5-6 minutes. Like, I feel like that epicness and that massive sound and melody and the strings and all like the lush layers are there within 6 minutes. Like, not a lot of bands can do that. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like, how did you get all those different sounds and ideas into 4 minutes or 6 minutes? Because guys, I couldn't fucking do it. I'm telling you right now. Like,
it's intentional. I mean, like even before Brandon came on board, when Ben and I were kind of hashing out ideas for the song, so like, I don't know, we get super bored sometimes with like long songs that just meander on and on and on and don't really go anywhere. You know, we have we wanted to write like rock and roll songs, basically. Like, they don't all necessarily have a like verse, chorus, verse type situation going on, but every song has a main theme and every song has like a part that you like, at least for me, that I'm like looking forward to. And we just didn't want any of that extra bullshit in there just to bore people. We get bored easily listening to music. You know, there's so many bands that I'll listen to and the first riff kicks and I'm like, yeah, this fucking rules. And then, like 4 minutes later, it's like, it's 4 minutes later, it's still doing the same damn thing and it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm just bored and skipping tracks. And I didn't want anybody like to skip forward on our EP or album or whatever. So, I mean, it was definitely intentional. And like Ben and I have been writing songs together for over 20 years. And we kind of just know we like each other's songwriting mindset. I feel like we're both decent songwriters and we know how to pull out the filler and just get straight to the point.
Cool. So is there anything on this EP that you wish you changed or done differently?
No. Honestly, no.
I'm 100% happy with it, to be honest with you. There's nothing I would change on there. Ben would probably say otherwise, just because
he's picky.
Like, he's picky. He produced it. He recorded it in his studio. So there's a couple things I'm sure he'd like to change, but like nothing that anybody else in this entire world would ever notice. It's probably just something that his ear picks up.
Awesome. So what I'm going to do is I got a couple more and I'm going to kind of wrap this up. But again, thanks guys. I really do appreciate this so very, very much.
It's no problem, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the dreaded social media, and especially for a band like this.
Yeah.
And I think you know what I mean. Like, this is not an easy nut to crack. Like, these, you either like this music or you don't like this music. It's not something that you're gonna like all of a sudden one day wake up and be like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, I feel like that at the end of the day, you either have it in you or you don't. So as far as like the underground goes, and I know this is more of a homegrown record, does it upset you that there's so many bands out there getting so much press that is just absolute garbage? And I mean it, and I
think
mean
that'll annoy anybody. But what can you do?
but what I mean by that is, like, you've got to wade your way through 18 bands to find you. And then if I'm lucky enough to find your record, then have the time to be able to experience it. So like with all these basement bands and bedroom bands today, and that's not what I'm calling you because you're an actual band. It's not like one guy in a room doing everything, do you feel that like social media is helping or hindering what you do as a band?
I don't know, man. I feel like it has its pros and cons, like much like everything else, really. I mean, it's a great tool in the modern world to, get your music out there and all that stuff. But, you can't lose the drive with that, because you get a lot of people that just like, start shooting out bands left and right. And then all they do is just click some stuff and they're like, oh, cool, I got some people that like my band now. It's just like there's no real like passion behind it. You know what I mean? So.
On the good side, though, I mean, nobody knew who we were, before this album came out, basically, other than a few of our friends around here. And here we are, like a month after our album came out, and we've got thousands of like streams on Spotify and shit like that. I'm like, that wouldn't happen back in the day of me like stuffing envelopes full of little cut up flyers and sending off like crappily dubbed demo tapes, So it's good in that it has the possibility is there to get it into the hands of many, many people like way more easily than back in the day. But it also, it can get lost pretty easily, but it's just like the news cycle. I mean, the music cycle just like moves so fast, and that's fine. But I have no problem with the social media stuff. I hate trying to keep up with it, but it's part of the deal these days.
It is what it is. It's the world we live in now. So you gotta make do.
Yeah, to get out there and actually play some shows and do it that kind of way, but eventually.
Hopefully sometime this year that world will allow us to do it again.
Yeah, no shit. I'm tired of fucking staying cooped up.
We're going crazy. We're going crazy over here.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I laugh too because I'm the same. I'm the same way. I'm like, I'll look at Spotify playlist and I'll be like, what do you mean I have 800 people listen to my record? Like, I didn't even know 800 people knew what this kind of music was. Right. It's the coolest thing in the world today. So my last question I asked every band every time. I always get different influences, different question, different answers on it. But if you could have anybody take these 4 songs, and don't tell me Dan Swano, and remake this EP, and make it and remake it in their own image, what artists would you? I don't care. You both can have different. Who would you want to be the inspiration to make their version of the Mother of Graves EP?
Oh man. Like in general or just in the world of death? Like
anybody. I don't care. Like I've literally had death metal guys tell me dance artists, okay? I've literally had doom metal guys tell me jazz musicians. I don't care. Is there one person that you're interested in?
Ronnie James Dio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fucking badass. That would be killer.
That would be very interesting to hear. I mean, he's like my number 1 favorite guy ever. So, that'd be kind of interesting.
I'm with you.
I don't know if I could top that. I guess I'll throw out like the King Diamond thing. I think that'd be pretty badass. Had some wicked solos in there. I don't know.
Wicked solos. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. So I'm going to leave this piece to you guys. Talk about the record, talk about how the people can find it, what's next for the band. This is your platform for the next few minutes to let my people know what's going on.
Right on.
All right. So we've got our In Somber Dreams EP out on Wise Blood Records. You can find it easily on Bandcamp, either through our site, motherofgraves.bandcamp.com, or Wise Blood Records. Come follow us on Facebook. We've got Instagram where we post some stuff. Once we get playing live and everything, we'll have some more content on there. But we've got merch on our Bandcamp site. We've got some killer long sleeves out right now. Hope you guys dig it.
Cool.
Yeah, what he said. I don't really have much else to add. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. All right. Well, this has been Brendan and Chris from Mother of Graves, hanging out with Clint from the Doorway 2. I will make sure that when I put the video up, that there's links to your Bandcamp and to the record label as well, because he's been a good dude to me too, and he deserves lots of respect for what's going on
no
with
doubt.
you guys as well.
Go support Wise Blood. Sean is a great guy.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Sean.
Yeah. And again, if you guys ever do get to play live, which I'm hoping sometime in
fucking someday, right?
Yeah, 2022, we're gonna be able to see this stuff.
Right.
I will be out.
We'll have like 3 new records by then. We'll never have played any of them live.
I'll definitely come and see you live. Right. And we'll hang out and we'll have a good time, man. But again, thank you very much, guys, for this. I appreciate it very, very much.
No problem.
Cool. Thank you, Clint, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.